In this video, I'll be going into details over the timing as well as location for today and tomorrow's severe weather here. Today, we're looking at for some potent as well as some pretty widespread severe weather across portions of Kansas and portions of Tornado Alley. And then tomorrow, we're watching for the pretty big Mother's Day threat here for portions of western Dixie Alley here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to the forecast. But before getting the forecast, I want to apologize for not posting for the past, I think it was 3 days here. I really do apologize. I've been very busy here with the test, and I've just really been hanging out with a lot of friends lately. So I do apologize for that here. As I am going to the end of the year, I'm kind of starting to hang out a lot more with my friends and all that. So I really do apologize for not posting. And actually, at my friend's birthday party, and then the day after, my friend was holding a party there. So it's been a hectic past few days here, but I'm hoping to go back to my regular schedule this week here. But as of right now, we do have a little area of severe thunderstorm watches here for portions that are central and northern Kansas and portions of south central Nebraska counties there. So here, really going to be watching out for that severe weather to start firing up here within the next few hours here. Other than that, that's kind of all we have so far right now. But let's go ahead and see what we have on the Storm Prediction Center. So this is what we have so far for today. So again, today is now at an enhanced risk here, level 3 for portions of northeastern Kansas and portions there of northwestern Missouri. So this does include a big city, obviously Kansas City there on both Missouri and Kansas side. So basically around 3 million people are under this enhanced risk, including Kansas City, Overland Park, Topeka, and Olathe, Kansas, as well as slight risk has extended all the way from portions of west central Kansas to portions of central Missouri. This slight risk includes around 1.3 million people. Again, it includes portions of Tornado Alley there, Columbia, Jefferson City, Emporia, Hayes, and Sedalia. You guys are under that slight risk. And then we have a pretty widespread marginal risk across Tornado Alley. This includes around 5.5 million people there. But let's go ahead and look at the tornado risk. So we do only have a 5% chance for a certain area there, including Salina, Kansas, Manhattan, Kansas, Junction City, Kansas, and Topeka, Kansas. So it's kind of just to the west of Kansas City here, kind of a little bit in the suburbs there of that big region and populated area. But it doesn't include around 500,000 people there. 482,000 is where we have that 5%, and as well includes far south, southeastern there, Nebraska, right on the border there. And then we have a pretty widespread 2% all the way from portions of eastern Colorado to portions of central Missouri. But I do doubt we'll see any any tornadoes at all. So I don't see really that many tornadoes, if we do have any at all, in that 2% region here. I don't think today's going to be a big tornado risk. I think it's going to mainly be a hail risk. Pretty large hail is definitely going to be a pretty big threat, the high lapse rates we're expecting today. But other than that, I don't see a big tornado outbreak, or in reality, I don't see any more than 15 tornadoes, but last time I said that, we saw 44 in Mississippi there. So I don't want to obviously under forecast it or under predict it or underestimate it, but I do not see that many tornadoes today. We're going to be seeing a couple or a few. I think we'll definitely have more tornadoes tomorrow, though. Wind threat here, obviously pretty big threat, 30% chance non-hatched and non-significant severe risk. And this takes part for much of our enhanced risk here today. So obviously 2.6 million people, Kansas City, Overland Park, Topeka, and Olathe. And then 15%, including 1.3 million people, Columbia, Jefferson City, Emporia, Hayes, and Sedalia. And then, of course, we do have a 30% chance hatched, and also a little area there with 15% chance hatched for hail. This significant severe risk includes Salina, Manhattan, Hayes, and Junction City there, 361,000 people. And then the 30% chance in general, it includes around 451,000 people. So like I did say, overall today is going to be a big hail threat. And then, of course, watching out for Mother's Day, which I believe is tomorrow, we do now have around 9 million people under this slight risk here, including portions of western Dixie Alley and as well portions of the Kentucky and Tennessee Valley. So Memphis, Shreveport, Little Rock, Waco, and Tyler, you guys are one of the biggest cities here listed within the slight risk. And then we have a very large margin, including around 34 million people, all the way from Houston, Texas, to portions there near Dayton, Ohio, and Columbus, Ohio. So definitely pretty widespread. We have a very, very large, widespread 5% chance for tornadoes. Could there be a 10%? I'm not really 100% certain whether there will be one or not, but I do think if any day we'll have a 10% out of today and tomorrow, it will definitely be tomorrow. A lot of favorable conditions for tornadic supercells. 6.3 million people under that 5%, including Memphis, Shreveport, Little Rock, Tyler, and Longview. So we kind of have a little small area within that slight risk, or within that general risk for severe weather tomorrow. That's actually going to be seeing a probability for some tornadoes, but as well overall widespread 2% chance, including around 23 million people. So we could definitely see tornadoes tomorrow, and if they can very well be pretty scattered out. One from Texas, one in Kentucky. So there's definitely pretty widespread in general for tornadoes tomorrow. Wind threat as well, pretty large threat. However, it is only at a 15%, which is only why we're at an enhanced risk, because we don't have any 30% for hail or winds, but we do have a 15% chance significant severe risk. So if we do get enhanced risk tomorrow, which I do think will happen, it'll be for the hail probability, most likely a small 30% chance significant severe risk. But those areas that we have so far within that 15% chance that are under that hatch risk, it does include 3.1 million people. And so these within that 15% chance significant severe, it does include Shreveport, Little Rock, Tyler, Longview, and Bossier City. Let's go ahead and get a look here at what we have within the next few hours in the HRR. So I do believe within the next few hours here, we're going to start getting the storms developing across portions of Kansas there. Let's now go a little bit later on, and then those storms will start to become a lot more widespread, including south central and southeastern Nebraska, which actually is the tip of the enhanced risk. And it's going to be a pretty big overnight threat here. So by, I believe, 9 o'clock Central and 10 o'clock Eastern, these storms are going to be kind of pretty darn severe here. But again, as you do see, we're not going to be looking at or expecting any widespread supercells or embedded supercells within that little linear mode of storms. That's what the biggest threat for today is going to be, the wind and the hail. As we now go to around 11 o'clock Central Time, those storms will start to make their way towards Kansas City there, and as well as Jefferson City. So not Jefferson City, St. Joseph. And then as we go down to early tomorrow morning here, then they'll make their way to Jefferson City, and as well possibly expecting some pretty significant severe weather, including winds across portions of southern Illinois there, portions there of Indiana. And then as we go to tomorrow here, by the early afternoon hours, 3 o'clock Eastern, 2 o'clock Central, we will start to get our first storms here tomorrow. We're definitely looking at a better probability for some bad supercells. As we now go into 6 o'clock tomorrow, again, there you see possibly some supercells, as well as pretty intense storms all the way from Texas to portions of western Tennessee and north central Mississippi there. And then by 8 o'clock Central, these storms start to get progressively worse here and severe, looking at possibly for some pretty intense squall line, and as well really watching out for some tornadoes specifically within this area. In my opinion, is where we may see the more favorable conditions for those tornadic supercells. Let's now go ahead and look at the K values that we're expecting from today to tomorrow. So overall, we're seeing decent K values across Tornado Alley today. We are going to be seeing some scatter numbers of over 2,000 across Kansas. But overall, we have a pretty widespread area between 1,000 to 2,000. But we're definitely seeing the really warm temperatures today. We're actually reaching the 80s across Kansas, and as well getting to the triple digits in Texas today there. As we now get to around 9, 10 o'clock here, that's when those Cape values will get a little bit higher towards south central Kansas there, 2,100 joules per kilogram. Again, it's going to be mainly an overnight threat here. So once we get to 2 a.m., we actually get nearly 2,200 joules per kilogram, and even as high as 2,300 joules per kilogram. And then I go into tomorrow here by 2 o'clock Eastern, 3 o'clock Central, 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central. We're already getting some really high numbers, K values wise, getting up to 3,000, maybe even 3,600 joules per kilogram there. Look at that, 3,600 joules per kilogram as early as 1 o'clock Central Time. As we now go later on to 5 o'clock, these storms are going to start firing off from Texas there to portions of western Dixie, getting as high as 4,200 joules per kilogram there in their DFW, and widespread 2,000 to 3,000 plus joules per kilogram in overall where we watch for that severe weather tomorrow. And then after 10 o'clock here, those kind of K values really do rapidly fall apart. So we shouldn't be seeing a big overnight tornado threat. The tornado threat is going to be mainly in the evening hours, and maybe as late as maybe 9 o'clock Central. Let's now go ahead and look at the 0 to 6 kilometer shear here to see exactly how unstable this atmosphere is, and exactly the difference between the surface to 6 kilometers within the shear here. So as we now go into the next few hours here, you're going to be seeing some decent amount of differences in shear across Kansas and Oklahoma there, getting possibly nearly 40 knots there near southeastern Kansas, but near Nebraska, southern Nebraska, and north central Kansas getting as high as possibly 50 to 60 knots here. So that's why we kind of start seeing those first storms kind of firing up over there. And as we get later on overnight, those will continue to see more favorable conditions across Kansas as those shear values do increase now up to possibly nearly 65 knots. But obviously, then at that point, the K values will kind of die off, and as well, the temperatures really rapidly die off and go into the 60s. But let's now go ahead and look at tomorrow here by 3 o'clock. We're going to be seeing some decent amount of shear kind of towards portions of the central United States here, but we're going to be overall seeing a strengthening jet stream that's going to bring in some pretty good amount of shear later into the evening hours across Kansas by 6 o'clock Eastern and 5 o'clock Central. Some scattered areas of possibly 75 knots difference between surface and 6 kilometers. So overall, looking at some really good conditions for severe weather across portions of northeastern Texas, central and northern Louisiana, southern Arkansas as well, portions there of Mississippi there, and as well Tennessee, scattered areas by 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock Central. Scattered areas of over 60 plus knots difference between surface and 6 kilometers. So overall, we're going to be seeing some pretty good amount of shear here between today and tomorrow. But it looks like we're going to be seeing more favorable amount of shear in the exact areas tomorrow. Because we're going to be seeing a lot of today's risk really won't get that much shear until really to like the last few hours before the severe weather kind of dies off in the overnight hours. But tomorrow, this year is going to be there from beginning to end. So overall, looking at some better conditions tomorrow here. And I would not rule out the possibility if we get enhanced by tomorrow morning. Let's go ahead and look at the supercell composite parameter. You can kind of see some lower numbers as it's the start here within the next few hours, getting some lower numbers there, some single digits. But as we go later on here, those numbers will get a lot higher once we get to the more favorable conditions here for the severe weather by 8 o'clock Central. You can kind of see some 20s there and upper teens across southern Oklahoma. And then you can kind of see by the overnight hours, by midnight, getting up into the 20s and teens. But as you do see, we do have some 20s and higher numbers as high as 31 in Oklahoma. But that's just because how favorable the conditions will be there in Oklahoma. But little do they know, there's going to be a lot of capping in that region here. As we go later on now into tomorrow by 1 o'clock here, 2 o'clock, we're not going to be seeing any widespread supercell composite numbers that are going to be that high. We're going to be seeing maybe some teens there near the Mississippi River Valley, but not until later on here by 6, 7 o'clock. We're going to get some scatter numbers that are over the teens there in Louisiana, Arkansas, Texas, and Mississippi there. You can kind of see some pretty good numbers there just kind of to the east of that Mississippi River Basin there, getting up to as high as around 20, as well as some scattered numbers across maybe Texas, as well as some scattered numbers across Louisiana. So since there's going to be some scattered supercells across this whole region, there's going to be not a huge big junction like we're seeing right now. You can kind of see we're not going to be seeing anything like that where it's kind of limited. We're going to kind of see overall widespread higher numbers here scattered across one state and then the others across the other state. That's just because it's going to be scattered supercells here, and they're not going to kind of be within a group or a pack. And last but not least, let's go ahead and look at the significant tornado parameter. So, of course, by the next few hours, lower numbers as of now across Kansas and Oklahoma. But as we now go later on by around 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central, the best numbers for tornadoes, most likely, I'd say, for Central and Eastern Kansas there, you can kind of see we may get maybe as high as maybe a 6 or 7 across Kansas, and maybe in the overnight hours getting as high as 10 there. That's because that's just how favorable the conditions are, but those numbers really don't mean anything. Let's now go ahead and look at 2, 3 o'clock here for tomorrow. We're going to be seeing some decent numbers, 3 to 5, but as well, those really won't be signifying a big chance for tornadoes, even though they have some pretty good numbers. The real numbers we want to be looking at are these right here. We're seeing those pretty good favorable conditions there, getting as high as 15 there for northeastern Texas as well, getting as high as maybe some scattered 5, some scattered 6s. So like the supercell composite numbers, they're going to be very high in some areas, but they're going to be very scattered. So it's going to kind of be very scattered with some high numbers there across the western Mississippi, some there across central and northern Louisiana, northeastern Texas, and as well as southern Arkansas, kind of really widespread. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video here. Be sure to subscribe as well, like, and as well comment if you have any questions. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video.